Xbox has provided us with some incredible exclusives over the past few years, and this is only going to ramp up into 2025. Currently, we have quite a few on Xbox, and it's getting harder to narrow down which ones you should actually play. With that in mind, today I will be covering the 15 best Xbox exclusives that you need to play right now in 2025. My name is Fletcher, this is Xbox Nation. Subscribe for more Xbox content every single day, and let's delve into these fantastic exclusive games. First up, we have Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. As a sequel, it had a lot to live up to, and oh boy, this one did not disappoint. The follow-up to 2017's Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, this Xbox exclusive is hauntingly beautiful as players travel through Iceland as well as Senua's trauma in order to save her people. Nearly every aspect of the first game has been improved here, be it the visuals or the new combo-based combat system. From photorealistic graphics, environmental puzzles, and plenty of lore and collectibles to uncover, this title makes for a perfect single-player experience. The sequel to 2017's Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice was not only highly anticipated because the first game was so good, but it was also the game that Xbox chose to highlight alongside the unveiling of the Series X back in 2019. Unfortunately, it took 5 long years for Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 to arrive on Xbox, but the result was an absolutely breathtaking adventure that offered up some of the best visuals and audio ever seen on the Series X in particular. Also, although the gameplay/combat loop gave the game a fairly mixed reception on launch, this is still an Xbox exclusive that you definitely need to check out. Now, Microsoft Flight Simulator is an extraordinary experience, a truly jaw-dropping game that gives you the freedom to hop into one of its stunningly recreated planes and take to the skies to explore the world. Yes, the entire world, in an almost unbelievable level of detail. Of all the Xbox exclusives on this list today, I feel like Flight Sim is truly special, a one-of-a-kind game that is quite hard to believe actually made its way to consoles in the very first place. This one's an Xbox Series exclusive for obvious reasons, although it does work via the cloud on Xbox One, and it will take some time getting used to all the various controls, but once that all clicks with you, there's nothing like it. I've actually sunk hours and hours into discovering and exploring the 2020 version, and still get the same level of thrill every single time I run through the pre-flight checks and take off for another journey in the recently released 2024 edition. Yes, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 did suffer from a very turbulent launch, but when all the engines are powered and running smoothly, it's an incredible game that surpasses its predecessor for the career mode alone. That said, you could always go back and play the 2020 version as well. You can't really go wrong with either of these two titles. Sorry PlayStation 5 players, but Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is an Xbox and PC exclusive until sometime this spring. It's also a must-play, and it's honestly one of the best adventure games to come out in 2024, so you'll definitely want to check this title out as soon as you can. Set in 1937, you get to take on the role of the famed fedora-wearing professor as you embark on a global quest to stop Nazis from getting their evil hands on a powerful artifact. There are tons of puzzles, sleek combat mechanics, and plenty of cinematics that truly make you feel like you're in a classic Spielberg movie. There are also so many jaw-dropping moments that you really do have to take a step back and be in awe with it all. In fact, this is the best indie game that I've seen in my 28 years on planet Earth, as it makes sure the story is captivating throughout your playtime and that the gameplay never feels too repetitive. Machine Games really came out the gate swinging with this entry, and there is so much detail, including some iconic nods to the films, which you'll come across throughout your adventure. This is easily one of my favourite games on this entire list, and easily one of my top 10 Xbox exclusives of all time. It might have overextended a little bit with its experimental TV tie-in elements, but Quantum Break from Remedy Entertainment, the makers of Max Payne and Alan Wake, has moments where its mix of third-person shooting and temporal powers really soars. The transition from TV show to gameplay is just so well done, and it has since become a cult classic within the Xbox community, with many calling for a sequel. As Jack Joyce, played by Shawn Ashmore, the lead in a relatively star-studded cast, you've stumbled into time-manipulating godhood, and you must use your newfound powers to wipe out waves of armed goons and prevent the cataclysmic end of time. It's worth playing Quantum Break just for those moments, when you trap enemies in a prism-like stasis bottle, peppered them with soon-to-be unfrozen bullets, then warp dash over to another baddie for a melee takedown. This game is like none other in the Xbox library. However, if you love the third-person action and mind-bending powers of Remedy's Control, then you will absolutely love this entry in this new IP. You can't really say you've owned an Xbox unless you've played at least one Halo game. It's the series that really did cement the console's gaming credentials, and for that reason, Halo the Master Chief Collection is pretty damn near essential. Not only does it include Halo 1, Halo 2, 3 and 4, but also optionally remasters the earlier games so you can actually enjoy them as they were originally created or in a spruced up high fidelity version. You can actually do this by simply clicking the options button on your Xbox controller in-game, and it will change it seamlessly with no loading screens. There's even multiplayer, although that did have a rocky start, and a few years later isn't as busy as it used to be. No, the main draw here is the chance to play through 4 of the Xbox's most formative games in their best possible versions. The early games are remade with improved graphics, there are frame rate boosts, redone high-res cutscenes, and just so much more. Everything's brought up to a modern day standard, remastering and reinvigorating the classics. It really is worth every single penny if you want to purchase this package, but it is also part of Xbox Game Pass if you have that subscription. While Stalker 2 has plenty of issues, I still count it as one of the best games of 2024 because of its sheer scale, gripping world, and compelling gameplay. Sure, it's still a bit of a buggy mess, but it's one of the best open world games on the market. The bugs are slowly being ironed out, and with the developer making this game in an active war zone, I think it's safe to say they do deserve some leeway for these issues. In this Xbox exclusive, you play as a Ukrainian Marine who finds himself smuggled into the zone by a scientist. While trying to earn money, you'll have to face radioactive dangers and plenty of mutants roaming around the disaster area. The zone is atmospheric, the gunfights here are superb, and the level of brutal challenge is actually surprisingly fun to try and conquer. The good news is that Stalker 2 is also on Game Pass. Currently, there's no PS5 release date, so this looks to be an exclusive for the foreseeable future as well. I would highly recommend that you dive into the zone as soon as possible if you haven't done so already, but be aware this is a highly challenging experience and not for the faint of heart. From the creative minds over at Insomniac, the studio behind PS5 exclusives like Spider-Man and Ratchet & Clank, comes an exceptional and action-packed adventure. As you might expect from this prestigious developer, Sunset Overdrive is absolutely oozing style and most importantly, fun gunplay. From its remarkably amusing and over-the-top narrative to its hyper-colourful art style, it's hard not to have a massive grin on your face when playing throughout this game. After a new energy drink causes people to turn into zombies, you'll have to figure out how to save the day, all whilst causing as much chaos as you can. During gameplay, you'll be zipping, dashing, grinding, and wall running through Sunset City, thanks to its slick and satisfying movement, though this should be no surprise considering how well Insomniac nailed the movement of Spider-Man. As for combat, this is similarly bombastic, giving you access to some absurd weaponry, from record disc flingers to massive rocket launchers that work wonders with the movement system and level design. Seriously, you do not want to miss out on one of the best Xbox open world games, and arguably one of the best open world games of all time. Play Sunset Overdrive, and like me, you'll be eagerly awaiting a sequel that sadly doesn't look like it'll ever happen. If you prefer traditional racing, Forza Motorsport is the reboot of the more realism-driven Forza series, dropping the number in the titles in favour of bringing in newcomers. This is the first Forza game that was designed to fully utilise the power of the Xbox Series X and S, dropping the Xbox One for a current-gen only experience that makes it one of the best racing games out right now. Forza Motorsport is focused on being a true sim racing game. Track racing, realistic physics, and enormous depths of customization and tuning is what Motorsport is all about. If you're looking for a true adrenaline-pumping racing game, Forza Motorsport is your best bet on the Series X and S consoles. With over 500 cars and plenty of dynamic tracks, which offer various racing layouts and different weather conditions, there's plenty of variety and content on offer for you. And don't worry if you're not a fan of competitive races, as you can also play with your friends with free play or just blast through loads of single player content at your own pace and skill level. Before we dive into the remaining games, please do consider subscribing, as I do upload Xbox content every single day, and I would love for you to join one of the fastest growing Xbox communities here on YouTube. Currently, 78% of you are not subscribed, and let's see if we can get that down to 70% by the end of March. We are already down from 79% in the past couple of days, and your continued support means the absolute world to me. With that, let's dive back into the remaining exclusives that you need to check out in 2025. The 6th mainline installment in the long-running FPS franchise is a big moment, and Halo Infinite has nailed it by bringing back classic Halo into the modern era. Unlike previous Halo games, Infinite brings an open world to its campaign instead of linear missions. Whilst it certainly felt initially like Infinite was rushed out the door in the early days of the Xbox Series X and S consoles, its gameplay has been tight as a drum since day one. Despite a rocky start to life though, Halo Infinite is now the best it's ever been, with plenty of new content, the jaw-dropping Forge mode that lets you make and play custom mapping experiences, and many more refinements and fresh features. The team over at the now called Halo Studios have really worked wonders rebalancing many parts of the multiplayer, and the extra content has been nothing short of outstanding. Multiplayer is also free to play for anyone who wants to jump into it, regardless of whether you're a Game Pass subscriber, and I highly recommend giving it a go right now. The only downside I find these days is that some modes do have some lengthy queues due to the smaller player base, and I suspect this was due to the poor launch. But if you put that aside, you have an incredible Halo package that is certainly worth experiencing. While Gears 5 is the 5th main installment in the Gears of War franchise, and why they decided to drop the war part I will never really understand, it offers a handy catch-up for newcomers or any fans who missed out on the previous games. For the first time in the series, Gears 5 focuses on a new female lead, known as Kate Diaz, as she learns about her heritage, with her discovering the origins of the Locust Horde that may have threatened humanity generations prior. If you're a fan of shooters, Gears 5 is a must-play, with a tightly packed but excellent campaign that'll keep you hooked for about 10 to 12 hours. Of course, you'll be battling against old foes along with new grotesque ones to boot, and the gunplay has never felt so amazing. If you're unfamiliar with the mechanics, it is primarily a cover-based third-person shooter, with some of the tightest shooting within the genre. However, the signature hand-to-hand combat with your Lancer with the gruesome chainsaw finishes will never get old. If you love the single player, you can also indulge in some amazing multiplayer action, as a wealth of content on offer out the gate is just outstanding. From Horde mode to traditional PvP, the multiplayer still has a very consistent and dedicated player base, and upon diving into this realm, you'll see why right out the gates. Valheim is yet another excellent exclusive game that Xbox players have over PlayStation and Nintendo fans. Playing either solo or in a server with up to 9 others, Valheim places you in an enchanting but dangerous procedurally generated world, split into various distinct regions. Valheim is heavily inspired by Norse mythology, and your customizable character is a Viking that is just trying to survive in this afterlife realm to prove they are worthy of the halls of Valhalla. As well as building up a strong defensive base to withstand raids of enemies, each region has a notorious Valheim boss that definitely needs slaying. The great thing about Valheim, in my view, is that it is not heavily laden with mandatory survival game parameters like hunger, thirst, and tiredness. Instead, you've got a health bar and a stamina bar, and that is it. Foraging, hunting, and farming are still required to get food, which you can eat to replenish your health and stamina, but that's all you need to keep an eye of most of the time. Resources also need to be gathered or mined so you can build up your base and craft some weapons. Despite being out on PC since 2021 and Xbox consoles since 2023, Valheim is still technically in early access as a game preview title, but it's still incredible experience that is definitely worth diving into. Bethesda Game Studios' epic space RPG arrived back in 2023, and although Starfield isn't taking the #1 slot in my best Xbox exclusive list, it is still one of the best ones out there. In this massive spacefaring RPG, you will join Constellation as they look for the mysteries of the cosmos. Of course, along the way, in true Bethesda fashion, you will meet friends and foes, can become a space pirate, or just spend literal days building your very own spaceship. Starfield is certainly not short of things to do and planets to discover, and that can be to its benefit, but also to its ultimate detriment. I have to say, with my time with Starfield, this one has very mixed feelings, but it's still one strong underlying RPG within this large experience. The quests are pretty fun, the story is fairly good for a Bethesda game, and the base/ship building mechanics are still awesome to this day, especially when I dive back into it. I still do love landing on a random planet, which I have not yet discovered, and just looking up in awe at the stars, seeing spaceships judder through the atmosphere, and seeing massive gas giants in the distance. There are flaws in this game, like various bugs, some lackluster quests, and the loading screen portion, but past this, Starfield is still a special and unique game that is definitely worth diving into. Some 16 years after the original game was released, we finally got a sequel to the excellent Psychonauts. Thankfully though, Psychonauts 2 was more than worth the wait, delivering a fantastically whimsical tour through various mines against a soundtrack that will get your feet tapping. This easily has to be one of my favourite exclusives so far this generation, and I cannot exclude it from this list, even though it's not spoke about as much as others out there. It's a fantastic platformer with levels that are so brilliantly designed that you'll be thinking about them for years to come. From boss battles to just simply walking and jumping around each of the individual worlds, the work Double Fine put into this experience really truly shines. The idea that you're diving into different psyches is still incredibly unique and jaw-dropping, and the musical soundtrack of each environment is pure bliss, especially when you're pummeling enemies in any way that you feel fit. Plus, there's a handy recap at the start of the game, so you don't have to go back and play the original to get sucked into this newest entry. As a prequel to the first game in the series, Gears Tactics takes the series' trademark high-intensity action and successfully plants it into a turn-based tactical format. The genre may have changed, but the intensity and rush of adrenaline you feel in other Gears games remains here. While strategy can feel daunting to get into for a lot of players out there, Gears Tactics is relatively accessible and is a great way to experience the beloved series in a new way. It's also a faster paced and more character driven experience compared to other strategy games for those who prefer something closer to an action game. And for those new to the genre, you can get a reward for Gears 5 if you just give this game a try. The story takes place years prior to the first game when the Locust Horde first emerged to exterminate humanity. You'll need to lead a squad of individuals in a broken world in an attempt to stop a villain who is creating monsters that further threaten what's left of humankind. It may bog itself down here and there with the mandatory side missions, and the Locusts are a generally straightforward enemy, but overall this is a supremely confident, highly polished effort that successfully remods Gears of War into a thrilling and engaging new format. There's no doubt that Obsidian's 2025 RPG Avowed belongs on this list, a company that never seems to miss the mark with its releases. Avowed looked like a hit from the first time everyone laid eyes back on it back in 2020, but doubt crept in from time to time as fans really questioned whether it ended up failing to match the lofty expectations of a Skyrim or the Outer Worlds. It may not be Skyrim, but that's perfectly okay. I've seen tons of comparisons to this game already online to the aforementioned game, but nobody, not even the developers, stated that this was due to be equal or even can be compared to Skyrim in any way. Nonetheless, this is still an amazing action RPG that I really did have a blast with, and I'm still playing this game to this day. I'm even going for the 1000 gamer score myself, as I absolutely loved my time in this very unique and beautiful world of Eora, and you should definitely try it out if you like the look of it. The story might not be that spectacular, but the action definitely is, and there's so much good gameplay to enjoy in this awesome Xbox exclusive. Obsidian has truly given us such an awesome game, and I cannot wait to see how they've cooked with the Outer Worlds 2 when that also comes to Xbox later this year. So, what Xbox exclusive is your favourite from this list, and are there any that you recommend which I did not include? Let me know in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed, and also subscribe for more Xbox content every single day. A big shout out to our channel members for your continued support on the channel, and if you would like to help me out as this channel grows, then hit that join button down below for exclusive emotes, member only videos, and so much more. Whilst here, why don't you check out one of my other videos where I covered the easiest Game Pass games for boosting your gamer score on Xbox in February 2025.